My name's Off Wagon. In my life, it's pretty crazy. I already feel cringy about starting the video this way, but whatever. I'm committed to the bit. I'm sticking with it. But for real, even before I gained some notoriety here on TikTok, I've had a pretty cool life with a lot of interesting experiences. It's been mostly a mix of pure luck and my endearing personality, but I've gotten the privilege of knowing a ton of really cool people, and that's afforded me some really cool experiences in my life. In fact, part of what helped me get the girl, so to speak, is when Emily and I first started dating. A few months in, we took our first trip, and I took her to Miami. I took her there because I had a friend with a sailboat who'd let us stay on it, and another friend who did sailing charters who took us out on his 65-foot sailboat. And we flew down to Key West for the day, where there happened to be the Songwriters Festival going on, which is an amazing experience if you ever get the chance. It was one of those, you'll probably never get experiences like this again trips, and I've been fortunate enough to have a life full of those kinds of experiences. Even more so now thanks to all of you guys. And this weekend we added something really cool to that list. A little backstory: when I was in college, I was on the student activities board. I loved that. Most of my lifelong college friends came from being involved with that, including the student activities director, who was my boss at the time. My boss, Dane, was also an incredibly talented guitar player. He taught himself on YouTube, and his wife was a volleyball coach at the school as well, both amazing people. So I've stayed in touch with him all these years, and a couple years after I graduated, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Nashville and give this guitar thing a real shot. Next thing you know, his talents hit the big stage and he's playing for Ray Lynn. Not long after, his wife starts managing the merch sales and then moves up to help managing parts of the tour. Just like that, suddenly my student activities director and our college volleyball coach are both in the music industry. And over the past decade, both of them have ended up working for a number of different artists and have been kind enough to invite me to all sorts of shows and experiences when they're in town that I would have never have gotten otherwise. I got to have a beer with Eric Paslay on his tour bus. I've gotten invited to attend some private radio events. One was in a Granite showroom, which was weird. I've gotten to take some friends and family to see some of their favorite artists and get meet and greets. It's just been some incredible experiences I am so thankful for. Then after COVID, Dane landed a gig playing guitar for Kane Brown. And so now every once in a while we get the privilege to go watch my student activities director from a little rink-a-dink college in Virginia, who taught himself to play guitar on YouTube, stand up and play guitar to stadiums full of 20,000 people. It's insane. I couldn't be happier for him or more proud of him, and I'm so thankful that he's included us in his journey. And his wife, who's been even more successful behind the scenes, managing and coordinating for some major tours, just got a job coordinating for one of my all-time childhood favorites, Tim McGraw. And it just so happens this past weekend, Kane Brown plays Minneapolis on Friday and Tim McGraw plays St. Paul on Saturday. And the amazing people that they are, we get invited to both shows, front row seats. Lolo even swings a third ticket so I can bring my dad, who said he's always wanted to see Tim McGraw. And right there is already, incredible enough. Back-to-back stadium shows in a weekend is something I've never done, let alone amazing seats and getting to share the experience of seeing one of our favorite artists with my dad. And both shows are amazing. Kane Brown always puts on a really good show, and Tim McGraw is definitely one of the best shows I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few. In fact, the Tim show was so good that we had some great seats that we never sat in because the entire stadium stood up before he came on stage and never sat back down. I have never seen an entire stadium stand for an entire show ever, and I've been to quite a few shows. I guess he calls his tour standing room only for good reason. We ended up adding a few more firsts we didn't plan on to the list this weekend as well. Starting with Dane bringing us backstage before his show, which is the first time that he's been able to do that before COVID, so it's the first time I've been backstage at a stadium show. So we're sitting back there, pre-gaming local craft beer with the band at the Target Center. Already just a huge check mark off the bucket list, right? Then Dane's like, hey, by the way, we're gonna go catch a Twins game. I really want an overpriced hot dog. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you guys were in town long enough for that. When are you going to see them? He's like, well, the game starts in about 20 minutes, so we should probably finish our drinks up and head on over. Oh, you mean us as in we, and we are going right now, even though you need to be on stage in front of a stadium full of people in a couple hours. He's like, yeah, we were hanging out and doing batting practice with the Twins earlier, and they set us up with some comp tickets, so I snagged you some. Next thing I know, we're walking backstage from the Target Center where the Timberwolves play, next door to Target Field where the Twins play, and we're sitting in these great seats having a beer and a brat with Kane Brown's band watching the Twins hit homers. That was not something I had on my wild weekend bingo card. We watched a couple innings and we walked back over to the Target Center. He gives us a couple solo cups to fill up with beer backstage before he brings us out. And he's like, you got seats if you get tired and you want to go sit down, but I'll drop you off in the pit right next to the stage and you can hang out there as long as you want. And that's where we spent the rest of the show, getting a sunburn from the pyrotechnics as we watched the people we were just hanging out with at a baseball game be rock stars. It was nuts. But it made me realize something too. Sometimes somebody's daily life is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for somebody else. Obviously, not all of us are rock stars who have these kinds of opportunities to share, but most of us have the opportunity at some point in our lives where a tiny amount of effort on our part can create a monumental, meaningful, and memorable experience in someone else's lives. And I'm so grateful for all of the experiences I've had because of that. And I hope that I've been successful doing that for other people when I've had the opportunity, and I hope that you guys try to do it for other people when you have the opportunity as well. Because you never know when something that seems like a small thing to you might mean the world to someone else.